K103 aims to bring Kahnawake an informative, community-oriented, and diverse talk show. To ensure a variety of voices and opinions, K103 reserves the right to screen calls. Our guests' opinions are not necessarily endorsed by or reflect those of K103 or its management. And now, the Party Line Talk Show on K103.7 FM, Kahnawake.
On the line, we have Adrian Esposito. Adrian is the writer, editor, and producer of one of the documentaries that's going to be shown in Kahnawake. And Adrian's story is called Bury My Heart with Tonawanda. Welcome to the program, Adrian.
Welcome. It's an honor to be on your show.
I'm very glad that you can make it today. Andre, what was your inspiration to write this story?
Well, the inspiration to write Bury My Heart with Tonawanda was, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a self-advocate for people with developmental disabilities, and I'm also very interested in the First Nations and First Peoples of this land, this continent. And one day when I was at Kahnawake Historic Site, which used to be a Seneca village here in upstate New York, I went there with a tour guide named Ronnie Ryder, who's also in the film, and she was giving her tour. And when I asked her a question, like how the Haudenosaunee or the Seneca people would have treated a person with a developmental disability, would they have shunned them, mistreated them? And she said the total opposite. She said that they would have seen them as being gifted, and that's why we don't put faces on our cornhusk dolls. So then the light bulb went off in my head to write this story, incorporating the Down syndrome with the Native American First Peoples concept.
So, Adrian, you have Asperger's disorder, is that correct?
Yes.
And the story that you wrote is about John Harrison and his connection with Tonawanda. And John Harrison has Down syndrome.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the story about John Harrison.
Well, the story is he was born with Down syndrome in 1860, and I don't want to give the whole film away, but his father was upset that he was born with this developmental disability, and that his wife, the character John Harrison's mother, passed away giving birth to him, and he was, and he was the character John Harrison in the beginning is mistreated and abused by his father because of the prejudices of the time towards people with developmental disabilities, and eventually is taken away to an institution called the Asylum for Idiots, which really existed in Syracuse, New York. That was the real name of the place, and it was started around 1856, I believe. And John Harrison escapes from this wagon which is taking him there, and runs into the Tonawanda Senecas, and they have a tribal council meeting to decide whether they should accept him or not. And the rest, I think, is history and for people to find out in the film.
So how was he met and treated by the Senecas?
They treat him totally with dignity and respect. They don't treat him like you see the other people who are non-native, who are Caucasian in the film. They treat them with kindness, and just like they would to other native people,
In the trailer that I saw on YouTube, it starts off with a bunch of cars pulling up and going to see the grave of John Harrison, and it's quite a compelling sight to see. And he's got a little grave and a gravestone, and once a year the people from Tonawanda put an object on his grave. What is that object?
That is the no-face doll, the faceless cornhusk doll, to show that he's equal like everyone else. Because I think I can't speak for the Haudenosaunee or Seneca Nation, but I can say that it is. I think the no-face doll does represent, as what I gather, that all people are equal, and that if you put a face on that doll, that shows that that person is, this looks this certain way and is different. So they just want to make the face blank to show that everyone looks the same in the Haudenosaunee eyes, in the native eyes, I should say.
So the movie is about 68 minutes long, and you were one of the editors. Did you have a hard time, keeping footage and having to dump some footage to complete the film?
Yeah, it was pretty hard. I had help from two other editors and making decisions, but I was the main editor. They were just the other two people who worked with me on the film, Mike Boas, who's a filmmaker, and Kurt Markham, who's also a filmmaker. They gave me some points and advice on what should go and what should stay to make the movie flow faster or flow at a good pace. But I made the final decision. We didn't follow everything that they said. I didn't follow everything they said. I went from my gut and heart instinct.
So how will this story help others with developmental disorders and their families?
I think it can help other families and people with disabilities. I think it can help them with the film. The film can help them by having hope and seeing that people with developmental disabilities, they can act, they can be independent, and can think and do stuff on their own, depending on how severe their conditions are. But on the most part, it's more about being a human being.
Adrian, how did you come up with the title?
I came up with the title "Bury My Heart with Tonawanda" because I thought that he's living in character, John Harrison. He lives with the Tonawanda Senecas, and as an old man, he passes on, and he's like buried on their land, and so he's buried with the Seneca Nation, the Tonawanda Seneca Nation, and so that's where I basically came up with the title.
So, Adrian, what do you want the viewers to remember long after they see your film?
Well, I would like the viewers to remember that, both that this was that Bury My Heart with Tonawanda it's not just a popcorn movie. It's supposed to have a deep message and show that both people with developmental disabilities and Native peoples are capable of being in more films and capable of being in more dramatic, especially people with disabilities, being in more dramatic, serious roles. Because I don't know if you've seen a lot of movies about people with disabilities, because mostly they're portrayed by people who are non-disabled, and like Cuba Gooding Jr. or Sean Penn or Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man. And it sort of goes back to the line when Native people were portrayed by Caucasians in redface, and I'm trying to break that mold to get more people with disabilities in more of these films, and also Native peoples as well, to be put in more films in the mainstream.
Adrian, will you be in Kahnawake on August 1st for the screening of your film?
Oh yes, most definitely. I'll be in Kahnawake for this screening.
Great. We're looking forward to meeting you. Thanks, Adrian, for joining us today on the Party Line Talk Show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to your film.
Thank you.